Alright, so just following on from the previous video regarding the soil, I realised when I finished recording that I had missed a couple of points. Now, the reason that I put the aggregate in the bottom of these boxes, apart from saving on buying a heap of soil, which is super expensive, is drainage. So by having and you can see here that the soil level is probably about there on the box, and then my soil level comes down to about here, and then the rest of it's full of aggregate. And the idea of this is that the water drains from the beds through, so I'm watering from above with dripper lines. So these have got a dripper every 300 mil. And I've got 3 of these per bed, as you can see. And then these are spaced approximately 300 mil apart. And so the idea is that when this waters, the wet areas here touch each other and the whole bed is evenly watered. Now, the beauty of this setup is that there's no aerial watering. Water doesn't get on the leaves and cause fungus and all sorts of issues. You're not wasting water on the ground. But the other thing is that if I overwater these beds, it doesn't matter, because it just soaks through the soil and then through the aggregate, and it washes out the bottom. And one of the fundamental things that I found, which you don't want, is your beds to be soggy all the time with water and not be able to breathe and dry out at all. Because if they're wet all the time, then you end up with mould and algae and things growing all over your beds. And then it's not good. Your vegetables that you're eating are growing in that. So even with these beds, I still have a little bit of moss now and again growing in them, but it's not too bad. So highly recommend put some sort of product like a coarse aggregate in your beds at the bottom so that they drain properly. Really important. Now, the thing with gardening, that's my experience, and there's going to be a lot of people with qualifications and have done it for 30 years and maybe went to university even, and I've got a lot of know-how, and that's all well and good. But what I found when I first started was there was so much information provided, and everyone had different ideas how to do things. And every time I jumped on the internet, I read something different. It can be quite overwhelming, and a lot of people, I reckon, probably just don't even get into gardening because they're so worried about doing the wrong thing. And that sort of stigma about there being one way and that you might be doing the wrong thing, I just don't think it's right. Gardening's about enjoying yourself. It's about growing something and getting outdoors, eating your own vegetables, knowing what's gone into them, how they were grown, appreciating them. That's what gardening's about. It's not about a textbook and a university degree in what you should be doing and what pH and this and that are in the soil. Look, it's just not necessary most of the time. I just look after my beds with just a few bits and bobs that I've showed you earlier, turn them over, grow different things in each bed, so don't have the same vegetable growing in the same bed every season. And look, the soil's going to be perfect. You really can't go wrong. And when you go wrong, you'll learn pretty quick, and you just don't do it again. And that's part of the fun of it. It's a do-it-yourself type hobby. And look, it's really rewarding. So look, I'd encourage everyone give it a go. Definitely listen to what other people say and jump on the internet. But don't get too scared to just give things a go and see what'll work and what won't work. Because you'll find that the whole garden's pretty forgiving, and it definitely won't yell at you or completely die if you do the wrong thing. It'll give you a few signs. Look at it, you'll see what's going on. Here's a bit of a sign here, you know, the old spring onions, they're a bit brown. I can see a little bit of moss stuff growing here. Well, I know that bed's a little bit wet. Bit of common sense, just keep an eye on things. And yeah, most of all, just enjoy your garden. It doesn't have to be a science or a big complicated thing. It's got to be fun and rewarding. Thanks guys, hope this helped you out and you get motivated.